Clary from Mahogany Carnival Arts. We love Carnival, and so I'm going to show you how to make a Carnival headdress, an elaborate one, just using paper, glue and some colours. I'm taking my inspiration for my headdress from the beautiful Caribbean. So I had a look at the wonderful butterflies that we have in the Caribbean, and I've done a little sketch of my design based on the original butterfly. This one is called the morph butterfly, and we get it a lot in Trinidad. And this one we get a lot in Jamaica. It's called the swallowtail butterfly, and there's my little sketch of that butterfly. We have the most amazing flowers, beautiful colours, the hibiscus, and this is my interpretation of that hibiscus. We also have amazing birds in the Caribbean, the scarlet ibis. Here is my little drawing of the scarlet ibis. My favourite of all favourite trees in the whole world is the coconut tree. I love its shape, how it always curves and it has lovely feathery branches. That's my design there of a coconut tree. And of course, the steel pan that has become a symbol of the Caribbean and of Caribbean music. And there's my design based on the steel band. And with those symbols of the Caribbean, we're going to create this with our beautiful hibiscus flowers, our coconut trees, our scarlet ibis, the beautiful butterflies, and of course the steel pan in between. So before we get started, we have to look at all the materials that we're going to use to make our headdress. We're going to need a lot of A4 paper. Well, this particular one took about 15 sheets, but I'm sure you can use less. We've got colours, markers or crayons, and we'd need some form of stickies, either sellotape, masking tape, and paper glue, some Pritt stick and or some Yoo-hoo would work really well. So the first thing we have to do is to draw our shapes out based on our inspiration. And so we're going to fold our paper in four. We're going to first fold it in half, then we're going to fold it again, and then we're going to draw our design on a piece of paper like this. Here are the ones that I've already done. So there's my butterfly, there's my flower, there's the steel pan and the little butterfly, and there's the scarlet ibis drawn out. Four flowers every time we cut, because we folded our paper. So every time we cut, one cut gives us 4 shapes which we can then use, and that's so it doesn't take so much time having to draw each one and cut each one. We now have 4 flowers, and we can colour them all, and they will become our hibiscus once we've coloured them. Okay, so what you need to do is cut each one out. So you've got your sets ready, and here I've already prepared for colouring. So the colours that we're going to need are arranged for most things. Because I love working with light and shade, I always use more than one colour. And actually, if we look at our inspiration, where we got our inspiration from, we're going to start by doing the blue butterfly. You can see that it's got light and dark colours. So I'm just going to work from that wonderful, beautiful butterfly, and we're going to colour in according to our inspiration. So taking my light colour, I'm going to start with the light blue and just very rough shade it. you go. We have a butterfly. Now we should do the steel pan. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to use the marker, which has got quite a fat nib, and I'm just going to go around the lines. Go! A little steel pan. Now let's do the flowers. The hibiscus, which is such a lovely flower. Where is the... What's interesting about the hibiscus is it does have these darker areas in the middle and then these little lighter areas. So I'm going to use the light pink to give an impression of these little lighter areas. And I'm going to do that first. Then I shall use a darker red first. So I'm going to colour my petal with a slightly darker red. And then I'm going to use a slightly lighter red just to give it's a little bit more contrast towards the end of the flower. It's a little bit more orange. So we're still thinking about light and shade, and we're colouring from dark to light. To do in the middle is we're going to add the very dark, slightly different colour in the middle and I'm using a darker kind of pink to take us into the middle of the flower. Like that, so just make something a bit like a star into the middle of the pattern now. Coloured it dark on the inside, and I'm going to leave a little bit of white on it so that we can see it against the red of the flower. And this is going to be dark, so it disappears inside. So I had to leave a little bit of white. And I'm just going to put tiny bits of colour to give a sense. Looks like the drawing over there. What's nice about the hibiscus when you make it is that we can make it feel a bit three-dimensional by bending the paper, you see, and with our little middle bit we're going to fold it so that it stands up. So when we stick it into the middle of our flower like that, it will stand up like it does in the real flower. Quite simple. And we glue it like this. So we get a three-dimensional approach to our flower. Now we're going to look at my favourite, the coconut tree. Here's one that I did earlier, and we're going to use the same idea where we put the light and the dark colours, and so I've got a light green and a dark green and an even darker green for the middle. So I'm going to start by doing the lighter colour, because with markers you don't want your light colour going over the dark colour, because then it will spoil the marker. So I'm just going to colour it in. And sometimes it's okay for a little white to show through. Going to be our coconut tree. I have placed this one like this because when we're making our headdress we will need a left one and a right one, and all you need to do is to do exactly the same thing, but you need to turn your shape over so that you can do it on the other side. The nice thing, as with your hibiscus, the nice thing about the coconut tree is it does actually, it's a tree that bends like this, it grows all sorts of funny ways. And so when we come to stick our coconut tree on, we won't stick it on flat, we will stick it on so that it can curve, and so that we can have our tree look more three-dimensional. So feathers here and sense of feathers on the tail, and it's got these little very orangey areas. So we're going to try to recreate that in our colouring. So I'm going to start by putting the orange where the orangey bits are. And got some bits on the tail. I'm going to do it in such a way that it kind of gives a feathery feel, and out here too is going radiating like that. And that's your scarlet ibis. What we're going to do with the scarlet ibis when we come to put it together, that I'm going to use one for here, is I doubled it up. So I put two together so that I can get the wings to sit out, so it can again look a bit three-dimensional. When we stick them on the hat, it'll look as though it's got two wings, and it also makes it more sturdy because it has this very thin neck. So when doing your scarlet ibis, I think you should use two cutouts and stick them together so they're flat, and it makes it more strong. Right. And a similar thing with our butterfly. What we do with our butterfly when we go to stick it on is we bend the shape up like this, so that instead of getting a flat butterfly, we can get a butterfly that feels like it's about to fly or it's sitting on the plant. So when I did my headdress, I actually coloured both sides so that I don't see white on the other side. And I've just used masking tape to stick mine on. But if you intend to go outside with your headdress, then you're going to need to glue it on nice and sturdily. Okay, now we have one tiny butterfly left for us to do, and that is this one, where we have the black and the yellow. Going to start by colouring the lighter bits first. We do all the yellow. Our little butterfly. One thing I would like to say is, when you've done your coconut trees, see how it's curling up? It's curling because the ink in the marker is making it a little bit soft. So what we're going to do while we're doing all our other bits, take something heavy, like a few more bits of paper, and just place it over it so that it dries completely flat and doesn't curl as it was just doing. Okay, so now we're going to make our headband, and we'll do that by taking 2 sheets of A4 paper, and we're going to glue them together with a slight overlap like this. Okay, and we're going to use this to go around our head like this. If when you fit it around your head it doesn't fit, then you can add another piece of paper until it does fit. So it'll fit like that. Okay? Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make it into a nice shape. So we fold it in half, and we're going to trim a nice shape here that's going to fit the face. And you do that by, it's roughly the length of your index finger, because it comes from the center of your forehead to just above your eye, and that's the space that we have to cut out. And about 3 inches up. So we're going to use my index finger, which is about that long, and we're going to draw a heart shape to roughly that length and bring it back in. Very lovely like that. So you draw a shape that looks a bit like that. Again, when our paper is folded in half, we get a symmetrical shape when we open. So we keep that nice and flat. And there we go, we're going to cut that now. One more drawing. Give a nice edge. There you go. So that's going to be our bottom headband, like that. It's going to fit. That's our first bit. And then, so that's the bit that fits the head. Then we need a bigger bit to place all of our lovely shapes onto. So we're going to take another 2 pieces of paper, and we're going to join that together. But this time, we joined this horizontally. This time we're going to join these 2 vertically. It's just like before, with an overlap. So we're going to look like that, so it's nice and wide. And I'm going to, this is going to curve around the head, sort of like that. So to make it a nice shape, I'm going to just trim off the edge so I don't get a hard line. And to do that, I'm going to fold it, but I'm not going to put a crease down the front of it. And we're just going to give that a nice little trim, curvy trim off the edge like that. So we get a nice curve up the back of our shape. Yep, there we go. So we get something that actually looks, in the end, a bit like that. And we're going to take this shape and we're going to stick it to this shape. But before we do that, I'm going to test the right way to stick it by putting this bit onto there so that we can see just how well it fits the head. And you're going to need to make sure that this is fitting your head. Okay, so that's there like that. I usually like to pull it so that it's wider, tighter at the bottom and wider at the top, because that gives us a better shape. So when you come to tape on your own head, you'll do the same thing. You pull it tight and so that it sits to give you a slightly wider shape. Right, so now we want this to go there, like so, and around. And that's going to be lovely like that. So I'm going to actually stick it. There we go. So that is our headband. So now we're ready to add our shapes that we've made. And there are many ways in which we can do that. So I've put some masking tape on the back. I have just taken the masking tape and doubled it back on itself. Roll it. And we can use that to stick it. Now there are many ways in which you can do this. You can stick, you have so many choices, but I chose to stick my coconut trees with a bend, and also I can bend the tree a little so that it sticks out this forward rather than back, so we can stick that on, so you can do this going that way. There we go. You could glue that if you wanted to. You can use glue to hold it in place, or you can use your tape. So you stick on your trees. You can stick your steel pan on. You can add your flower. And you can add your butterfly. I chose to make 4 butterflies and to put them on a diagonal so that it looks really interesting, and folded the wings back. And I coloured the underside so that I didn't see white from underneath. You can do the same. And you can add as many flowers, and you can change the pattern if you like. I'm going to just add another tree, coconut tree, and I'm just using the masking tape to do that. Of course, if you're going outside, you should use glue. There you go. You can put your in there. And there you go. So that's the process of making this. You could also, of course, add glitter. If you wanted some sparkle, you can add some gems around the head. And there you have it. A Caribbean inspired Carnival headdress.